Hello, everyone. It's me, Jim from Spaghetti Kozak Media and Heavy Industries. Just wanting to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season, whatever holidays you celebrate. And of course, Happy New Year. Now, as terrible as 2020 has been, I still wanted to do something special for the holiday season. Back in October, I had the first Halloween special on the channel. And for the Christmas season, I wanted to do something more audio-oriented, something that you can listen to while you're unwrapping presents, or maybe working out, or perhaps boarding up all your windows and fortifying your home due to crystal meth-induced paranoia. So to that end, I recorded this totally not a podcast. I've been told podcasts aren't cool anymore. And for this first very special Christmas episode, I'm going to be discussing industrially produced Christmas movies with my good friend in Ukraine, Alina Nikulina. Now, there's a little bit of bad news. I haven't recorded a podcast in a very long time, and I was using some new technique for recording this one. And funnily enough, after recording, I realized there was a bit too much gain on my mic, and it kind of distorts my audio a little bit. My guest sounds fine, but on my side, it was a little bit too loud. So I ran the thing through Audacity, did all kinds of magic on it, was able to get something workable. Anyway, I do apologize in advance for that. Unfortunately, anytime you use new methodology to record something, you're going to run into a few technical snags. But let's not dwell on that. Instead, let us be filled with the Christmas spirit and enjoy this thorough examination into the phenomenon of mass-produced Christmas movies. I hope you'll be both informed and entertained. So without further ado, allow me to introduce my guest, Alina Nikulina, in the wonderful Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. So, Alina, explain yourself.
Had you embarrassed my family name, honestly? All right, so, I don't know what I am. I'm sort of a film critic, sort of a writer, sort of a lot of things. I'm also, most importantly, your friend.
Yes, I had reached out to my enemies to be on this cast, and they all sent very nasty emails back to me.
We can be like friends to enemies.
I do sympathize with that because I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm a sort of journalist, sort of writer, sort of a lot of things, but a YouTuber. I would say definitely a full YouTuber. Still climbing the ladder of YouTube success. We're getting there. So just to explain like the origin story, how we met. I lived in Ukraine. I've been there off and on going back to like 2007. And I remember I was invited to do a lecture at Kyiv Mohila Academy.
My alma mater.
Yes, you were in that master's journalism program?
Yeah.
Right, and me being a visiting distinguished professor, I was doing some lecturing there at Kyiv Mohila. I was a professor of shitposting. We had a special course on that. So I was invited to also lecture to your master's course there. And then I remember, I think you had contacted me a bit later when you saw my old blog, Russia Without BS, and it was about the book covers, the crazy book covers in Russian fiction, I guess you say Russian pulp fiction, really. Most of them being of the so-called Papadanyets genre.
Yeah, it was about my blog that I used to be in charge of. It was all about this like crazy, weird Russian sci-fi. Yeah.
Yes, and specifically, the Papadanyets genre is something that doesn't translate well into the English-speaking world, I think, but there is a term for it, and there is a notable example of it. It's termed as accidental travel, I found, and New York Yankee in King Arthur's Court. I'm sorry, no, it's a Connecticut Yankee. I'm thinking of the baseball team there. No, Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
I think it's like the first one.
Right, and that was just kind of a satirical piece, of course, but it was like it's called accidental travel because there's no explanation of how he gets there. He's just there, right? Now, Russian Papadanyets novels, maybe you could explain that genre a little better because they are very different in their subject matter.
Oh my God! So this is such a weird genre, but like so fun. Like honestly, so fun. So, but it's a bit evil.
It is.
Yes.
They're mostly like laden with propaganda and like imperialism.
So these novels, they mostly like play the same formula. Some like simple Russian guy, often from military, uh, ends up most often in like historical times or in the deep space or some in future. Sometimes more rarely he just ends up in the world of sword and sorcery, and he just ends up climbing the ladder of success because he is very awesome. And sometimes he also like kind of conquers the world in the name of the mother Russia. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, my favorite thing about them are mainly the covers because what happens is they're usually
Yes.
about going back in time. Like the guy ends up like you said, like he ends up he's usually former military, some like poor security guard or whatever, and he goes back in time because he has some kind of knowledge or even some technology with him. He helps Russia win some historical battle, but the weirdest thing is that a lot of times it's a battle that Russia historically already won. So it's just about winning harder. It's like what if at the Battle of Poltava the Russian side had like Me-24 gunships or something? It would just like devastate the Swedes more, right? And yeah, but it leads to these ridiculous covers with these modern guys wielding Kalashnikovs in against Napoleon's army or something.
By the way, sorry, you should link your old post about these covers like in the notes, because these covers, like you said, this is like the best part about this novel. This is the only notable part about
It's
this
the
novel.
only good part, really.
Like, I tried reading these novels; they're fucking horrible. Like, you can clearly see that no one writing them puts any effort in them. They definitely write by well, they're probably paid by the amount of work they can chug out in like 2 months or something. So they're not very good. You shouldn't read them, but you should look at the covers because covers are amazing.
Well, the important thing here, this how we'll segue into the main topic today, is that they're schlock, right? And that's actually kind of how we met. So we're like bonded by the schlock,
Yeah,
and I
we're
have known
Schlock
over the
siblings.
what's that?
We're Schlock siblings.
Yes, and but the interesting thing is like, see, I am in awe of your ability to like sniff out and hunt it out. Like you're like a schlock shark going out and like you can smell the blood in the water like
Oh my
dozens of
god,
miles
this is
away.
my new Twitter
And
handle, I swear. This is my
yeah,
new
yeah,
Twitter
like
handle.
I'm just like a schlock barnacle. I kind of sit on the side of a ship and just wave and just catch the thing, like catch things that just come my way, right? But you have
Do
like
barnacles
introduced
do that?
me. What's up?
I'm sorry. Do barnacles do that? What are
I think
barnacles then?
they do. They stick. They have the little like
Are they
thing
alive?
that yeah. It's
Oh
they're
my
like
god.
little organisms. But
I thought
half
they were
life.
like plants. Underwater plants.
They act like that, yeah. But Half-Life 2, entirely accurate representation of how a barnacle works. Just that, but smaller.
The more you know.
But anyway, that's me, Schlock Barnacle, your Schlock Shark. And well, that's where we
We are
get to
getting
today's.
we're Schlock Barnacle and Schlock Shark is a new show on Disney Plus. It's coming out in the next January. Please tune in.
They are starved for content. If nothing else, you can definitely get something on Amazon Prime.
Oh, obviously.
They take absolutely anything. But the reason why I segued into that is because there's sort of a subgenre of schlock that you kind of introduced me to. I don't know if that was maliciously or not, but it's very appropriate right now because this is of course Christmas season,
Yep.
and of course in Ukraine you get like double Christmas, right? Because now
Yeah.
the 25th and the Orthodox January 7th are our official holidays, Christmas holidays. And so here in the West, it's funny how you introduced me to something that as an American, even though I lived abroad for a long time, I should know more about this, and I did not. And what I'm talking about is like the industrial scale production of mass produced Christmas movies, mostly associated with Hallmark. And a lot of people see these collages of all these Christmas movies that they release, the Hallmark releases like every year, and they have identical covers all the time. And the plots are extremely formulaic. Maybe you can kind of summarize what's the typical Christmas movie plot?
Oh gosh. So I think everyone knows it by now. It's been such a like cultural staple in the last 5 years. I would say like maybe like in the last 3 years, thanks to Netflix. We'll get to it. So a typical cheesy Hallmark movie is a movie about uh, a city girl who gets an assignment to go to a small town in like some, I don't know, like what American states, whatever. And there she meets a hunk of a man, a himbo in a Christmas sweater, who teaches her who teaches her the true meaning of Christmas, and she dumps her corporate shield boyfriend, and they live together with the Christmas boy.
Yeah,
And
so I mean, it's almost like a type of pornography in a way without the actual sex, I guess, because it's like there's a certain genre there. It's like crappy boyfriend, stressed
yep,
out, successful woman, and then you have like ideal man, Christmas, sweater, tree, and you use your imagination for the rest because you have to. They're not going to show it.
yeah, but I'm sure there are some porn like parodies of the Christmas Prince out there.
There ought to be. There better be. Well,
Yeah.
you mentioned the Christmas Prince there, and that's actually I think a good place to start because that's the first of these types of. It's not Hallmark, but
No.
it's the first of these types of films that I was introduced to through you, and then later on I learned that it's actually part of an epic trilogy. It's there's sort of
Yeah, it's a trilogy now. It's crazy.
yeah, we are now in the first phase of the Christmas Prince cinematic universe, the
Yep.
CPCU, and the original trilogy is complete. But we don't know if we're going to have spin-offs. Are we going to have maybe a spin-off standalone with that little sister, the redhead? But we should talk about Christmas Prince because we both seen it, and this is an amazing movie. So why don't you introduce the plot?
Right. So first of all, even though it's not Hallmark, it's definitely Hallmark inspired because,
Mhm.
well, a bit of Christmas history, if you might say. So the first movie of this genre, I mean, of this subgenre of this like niche genre, like the Christmas movies, but also Christmas movies about like Cinderella story,
Mhm.
an American girl meets European prince. Yeah. So the first one was actually a Hallmark movie called A Princess for Christmas. It came out in 2011, and it's also a real Christmas staple for me because the main character is played by Katie McGrath, and I love her, and she's my celebrity crush. So I watch this movie every 2 years or so. Yeah, but obviously someone at Netflix saw that movie and just kind of saw all the Christmas Hallmark movies and thought, hey, there might be cash here. And they were right because
This is a gold
these
mine.
movies are obviously very popular. they go in trilogy just now. It's like Star Wars. It's crazy. Yeah, so Christmas Prince follows like a similar formulaic Cinderella formula. It's about an American journalist from New York. I don't remember her name. Professional. I didn't write it
It's
down.
Amber. It's Amber just because I happen
Amber.
to be looking it
Oh,
up again today, so I remember.
great. So yeah, uh, Amber. She's a blogger who gets sent to this vaguely Eastern European country,
It's
but
the only Eastern European thing about it is that they say it's in Eastern Europe, and the name of it, Aldovia.
yeah, although, but also it's weird because the royal family is obviously English, and
Everybody's
it is
British.
it is said they've been around for like 700 years. So I guess in their alternative universe, like 100 war looked very different from ours version. But all right, she
It's like
gets
700 years. It's like I think that outlasts the Ottoman Empire. This is a
yeah. I mean, this is very interesting
geopolitical
because
powerhouse.
this is like crusades, all right, but whatever. So and Amber gets sent to this vaguely Eastern European country, Moldova, to report at the coronation of the local prince called James. What he's called?
Yeah, Prince Christmas.
Prince Christmas. All right, Prince Christian, whatever. So Prince Christmas,
It's Jesus.
who has a bit of a reputation for being, a womanizer and a party goer, and everyone is concerned that he will just bail on the whole scene in the last moment. And she sends Zara to report because everyone expects him to like quit just right at the gates, and this is gonna be just a big story because obviously everyone in New York is super concerned about this vaguely Eastern European monarchy, but whatever. And
Yeah.
anyway, anyway, so in Moldova, she pretends to be a tutor for the Prince Christmas younger sister. I think her name is Emily, right? Yeah, her name is Emily. And she meets the Prince Christmas and they fall in love and they thwart the plans of his evil cousin Count Simon. This is the only character I remember. And they live happily ever after. And then there are 2 sequels.
Yes. Now the sequels are actually quite logical because I know the second one is like the royal wedding, and the third one is the royal baby. So they want you to know that this Christmas prince fucks. So they definitely they definitely have like a logical order there. But what I found interesting is that in the first movie, if I remember correctly, there's a problem with Amber trying to marry the prince, right? Because she's like a commoner or a foreigner or something. I remember in some way the whole thing causes like a succession crisis, and that's
you are half right. You are half right, my friend. So in the heart of the conflict of this movie, spoilers, I guess, is a question of succession because their apparent Prince Christmas, he is actually secretly isn't the biological child of these 2 Eastern European monarchs. He was adopted, and his father hid his adoption paper in a giant acorn Christmas ornament, and they have to solve like an entire riddle to find out where these documents are hidden.
It's like national treasure, basically.
Yes, it's national treasure, but in Moldova. Can you do any Cage impression, because I can.
I can actually. I don't remember any lines from that film.
No, it's enough.
I saw that once.
You flagged
Okay.
the skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could run around here and just scream, "I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!" Oh, yeah, that's a Nick Cage deep cut there. But yeah, that sums up the film quite perfectly. And for me, like this is where I found myself fascinated by this because I mean I don't think I have to say this is like it's bad. What do you expect? But it's fascinating because there's this like naive innocence to it. It was obviously made for a much younger audience, an audience that doesn't have experience in journalism and Eastern European countries. And when you're watching what she's doing, the innocent little things she does, she kind of like infiltrates the royal palace by accident and everything.
Yes, as soon as Amber arrives in Moldova, she is officially the second worst journalist in the whole Eastern Europe after me.
So many like ethics violations, and she is. But more than that, I mean, she's just flat out breaking the laws of the country. I mean, you don't sneak into the royal palaces of foreign countries when you don't have permission to be there, especially in Eastern European countries. Interrogations in these countries by police often start out physically in some cases. So yeah, it's not a good idea. And what I love is just watching like how she continuously does more and more egregious violations in what would cause a increasingly snowballing international incident, but it's all just kind of like played for laughs and there's no serious consequences or anything. And that's what makes the film so appealing, because I'm just trying to find like what is the worst thing she could do, the thing that gets you like locked up and tortured, or at the very least like persona non grata. What's the worst thing she can do that she just get away with, or it'll just be kind of like giggled away or something, or laughed at? Do you remember anything in particular that fits the bill there?
Well, I can name a few, but the thing is that these limits are actually even stretched even more in the later installation of this Netflix Christmas cinematic universe. Because I don't know, have you seen the night before Christmas?
I'm afraid not.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's my favorite.
I will
But okay, so
subscribe to Mubi for handpicked cinema, and I'm sure it'll be on the queue.
yeah, it's The Night Before Christmas. It's a unique combination, just perfect for me. It's a combination of shitty high fantasy and shitty Christmas movies. I love it. Like, and this is a very narrow genre. All I've had before The Night of Christmas, The Night Before Christmas, was like the Christmas Dragon, and no one saw that except me. So yeah, and so in The Night Before Christmas. There is a bit of a like nudge nudge wink wink moment, so which kind of hints at all these movies being connected. So I think it was the sister, yes, the sister of the main character of that movie. She is showing a little girl, like I think she's her daughter, but I'm not sure. I haven't rewatched it in a while. She is showing her daughter that very acorn from the Christmas Prince, that Christmas decoration that is integral to the plot of the Christmas Prince, and she's showing this acorn to her daughter and telling her something like, "Oh, this is look at these Christmas decorations your grandparents brought from their trip to Moldova," which is crazy. Like, okay, so a couple of years ago, my sister went to London, like to do a conference or something. Do you know what she brought me here? What she brought me from London?
The royal crown taken, which she
No,
kind of
no.
accidentally got into Buckingham Palace or something.
Weirdly enough, she didn't bring me Queen Elizabeth's favorite fucking candelabra. Like,
One of the corgis.
like what happened? What is the story? I wanna see the story. I want the explanation of how these grandparents went went on the trip to the Eastern Europe and came back with a fucking royal family heirloom.
Well, you know what it could be? There are a lot of cases, like maybe Aldovia. Aldovia looks to me like a country that relies a lot on tourism, right? I mean, you saw, there's skiing there, there's cabins. It looks like a real tourist-oriented economy. Maybe their main exports are like candy canes and other Christmas decorations, but I'm guessing that the whole royal family thing for them is a big tourist draw. So maybe it's just a
Yeah.
knockoff, like from a souvenir stand. But on the
Yeah,
other hand,
but this opens another like box of questions. Like, so it at least implies that there has been a very uncomfortable and personal interview with Prince Christmas at some local network about this whole succession scene. Like, oh yeah, my dad hid my adoption papers in this acorn. Also, I can't sweat. This is my physical condition or something.
yeah, it's no, there are many disturbing. That's the best thing about these films is all the disturbing implications that are
Yeah,
just kind of
it's
like
so
hand waved
fun.
away.
It's so fun to pick apart. Just I think they're they're perfectly made for this very crowd like you and me, like these sardonic losers.
So
They have
that's
nothing better
something
to do with their lives.
that, that's something that I wanted to get into, actually, the audience for these, because the thing that fascinates me about all this is the audience for this. Companies don't spend this much money for nothing if they don't expect to get some kind of return. Now Hallmark, I just read today, Hallmark orders these films about 40 a year. They ordered 40 for 2020. They're typically $2 million per film, which is dirt cheap for U.S. production. They are filmed in Vancouver, which is a very like low tax place to film anything. They are filmed usually in the summer, and each one takes 15 days. So that means that
Oh wow, only 2 weeks?
yeah, and here's the thing: the actors and actresses have to be all bundled up, and so when you see them there with like the coats and scarves and stuff like that, it's actually quite hot because they are, they are not in cold weather at all. It's the summer. I mean, luckily, I'm guessing Vancouver doesn't get that hot, but it gets annoying being on a set like that, I'm sure.
Funny thing is that you actually can see it in for example, in the Christmas Prince, because in the Christmas Prince mean, there are a bunch of scenes when you really feel for these actors because they look like shit. They look tired. They have like bags under their eyes. Like their makeup is melting.
Well, here's the thing about Christmas Prince. It's interesting is that to its credit, unlike those Hallmark movies are all filmed in Vancouver, I did the checking and Christmas Prince is all filmed, the whole trilogy filmed in Romania. So
wow.
it actually is located in Eastern Europe and it takes place there, but it's a very, very bizarre Eastern Europe. In a recent discussion about these movies that I think you were a party to as well, like we were talking about who are the audiences for these industrial scale produced movies. And when I think of the audience, there a lot of people put forth theories. A friend of mine named Sherry suggested it's for people with repeated brain trauma, and other people think it's for like evangelical fundamentalist Christians because it's all clean and it's Christmassy. This is part of my fascination with it is thinking about the audience for these films because, like I said, the person earlier, kind of had a derisive view of the audience. For me, I feel this is really weird, but in the pit of my stomach, when I think about who is watching these regularly, I feel pity. I feel concern. Like I feel that it's for these extremely lonely people, possibly elderly, possibly living with multiple cats. And like, I just want to, I think someone should check on them. I think someone should make sure that their newspaper stacks didn't fall on them and their cats are eating them or something like that. Like I'm just,
Oh no.
and I'm thinking maybe there's something they can put in the movies, like maybe on the ones that have ads, because some of these movies are free online on YouTube with ads, and maybe they could put some info in there about be sure to call someone or make sure your neighbors know if you're okay or whatever, because these people seem to need it. What do you think about the appeal of these films beyond nihilistic people such as ourselves?
Well, oh, you made me think about just some grandma watching this movie, falling asleep halfway, and then like in the middle of the film, Henry Cavill shows up or someone affiliated with Netflix and like, hey, wake up,
Yeah,
grandma.
like, don't make sure your cats are fed. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I definitely think that Netflix is definitely counting on the younger, maybe ironic postmodernist, sardonic losers category because like the way they're advertising these movies on their social media, especially on YouTube, it's more like, oh, this crazy conspiracy theories about our movies, like top 10 something. And I think that Netflix is considering as the younger audience for these movies, so they're acknowledging this ironic aspect. But I think maybe wine moms.
They are very similar to like trash romance novels in a way, just without the thing that most of those novel readers want, which is, the banging. But I just want to say in defense of us sardonic losers, I think the appeal of schlock like this and just stuff you can make fun of, I think it comes from the fact that we are now in a time when cinema promises so much and delivers so little. The things we're supposed to get excited about are boring, and now it's like, okay, I want actual trash that's entertaining on some level.
Yeah, and I think, well, I think the thing we were also kind of ignoring here is that, sometimes people just want their light-hearted escapism. Sometimes people just want their feel-good trashy movie, especially in the last few years that notoriously haven't been too great. This year was obviously especially hard, but
What's
you know.
wrong this year? Did something happen? It's not been going good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not big. And honestly, neither have this like past 5 years. So maybe people just want their hope punk, And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have your cheesy Christmas comfort movies that will pander to maybe some of your fantasies. Maybe will make you feel a bit better. Like you don't watch these movies. This is totally valid.
Yeah, when I was young, my thing was definitely, I was a kid, Home Alone. My friends and I watched those movies constantly, and And looking back on them, they are so ridiculous and disturbing on so many levels. And the fact that they could, as a kid, you don't care about any of that. And like, and what the most messed up thing about them is, as a kid, I remember wanting for our house to be attacked by burglars so we could be like Kevin. But attacked by burglars, home invaders who are not really going to kill you. They might rough you up a little bit, but they're just there to be foils for all the traps you could think of. As kids, like we'd look at our own house and we think, okay, I could put some nails in this. I could rig up a car battery to this metal doorknob or something, and it just really inspired. I really hope that this was not imitated too much at the time. I'm sure it was. I'm sure
This
if you
is
go
a story
back
about how James killed one of his stepdads. I'm sure.
I should. Yeah, that's the why did I do that? Why did I think paint cans? That's paint cans on a string.
Oh no.
But seriously, back to the other Christmas movies. Now there are a few that you have showed me the trailers for. Now, on The Night Before Christmas, that's not the Christmas Ghost one, right? Or Christmas Spirit or something?
No. That's the other one. I forgot what it's called though.
I think it's like Christmas Spirit or something.
Yeah, it's called Christmas Spirit. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's an obvious choice.
And yeah, it's like too. It's really obvious. Like, and this one is about a ghost, right?
Yeah, it's about a ghost. This one has a very interesting turn of the screw. I might say on the whole plot. So I would say spoilers, but the movie gives it away in the trailer, so I guess I'm fine. Okay, so this movie seemingly has your typical formulaic Christmas plot. It's about an overworked girl who goes. I think she is like. I forgot. What is this people? What is this evil people called? Evil people that sell houses.
Realtors?
Yeah, she's a realtor.
They're not always evil. I'm sure most of them are, but not all of them.
Yeah, most of them are. Everyone in Kyiv is, at least. So she goes to sell this old Edwardian mansion and finds out that there is a very hot ghost living there.
hot
and
ghost.
he can't move on. before he falls in love or something.
this ghost is shredded.
Yeah, this ghost is hot. Like, he's a hunk of a man. He has like kind of this hipster Nazi German hairstyle, like a bit shorter on the sides, a bit longer in the center.
Yeah, I think that's called the undercut or something. Yeah, the SS
and he's
cut.
also he has this great dark eyes and dark hair. He's hot, and he can't move on before he celebrates Christmas or falls in love or something. One of the other, maybe both. And that's the movie.
So it's kind of like Beauty and the Beast, really. I mean, apart from him being a ghost, but it's like you have a time set. You got to fall in love, or else you're just gonna be a ghost forever, or just die.
Yeah, it's
forever.
Beauty and the Beast plus the Christmas Prince plus Turn of the Screw. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. No, I thought, well, one interesting thing when you mentioned the hunks of guys, one interesting thing is that they do use these indisputably good-looking guys, but they always have some simple job or something. They're something like maybe a ski instructor, or they have to have the job in that small town where the overworked city girl goes, and
they can't be like a manager because her shitty boyfriend is already a manager. She can't fall in love with another office
stockbroker or something like that. Yeah, I was just thinking the other day about how, as much as I make fun of these, I mean, I have don't mean to brag, I have a little bit of I have an IMDb credit, and if I were ever offered a part to do something like this in a movie, I would definitely jump at the chance, and I know I can't be the hunky lumberjack or whatever, just because of my age mostly and my hideous looks. But I could definitely play the shitty boyfriend.
I can be an Moldovan maid with the sick communist accent. I will talk like this, although they all speak English in Moldova, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and everyone's not just English, but with a British accent. So
Yep,
proper
I can do
received
British.
pronunciation. Yeah, well, but it's like in a lot of Eastern European countries at the turn of the century, you had the intelligentsia and the nobility speaking a different language, having a very different culture, and then you had like the peasantry. And so in Aldovia, there's probably a big divide between the population at large and the monarchy, which is very mixed and possibly foreign.
It's a very medieval scene that the noble people, they are not from like the same country that the rest of the populace
Yeah,
is.
because they all intermarry in like personal
Yeah,
unions for political
yeah.
reasons. So, and then you have like
If you
them
think
speaking.
about, aren't Windsors like German or something?
Oh yeah, no, they are so messed up. They are so messed up. They even changed the name to Windsor because like God, what was Saxa Coburg Gotha was their
Oh
like
God.
royal name. Well, First World War comes around, and it's like, oh, we don't want anyone to know how German we are, and so yeah. Ask Lithuania; they know all about this. They had a nobility that spoke Polish and everything, and they had population or Lithuanian, and so Aldovia is probably a very similar thing. The only difference is like Aldovia has apparently maintained independence and possibly regional hegemony for like 700 years based on their frighteningly efficient standing army of Christmas elves, something like that. Yeah, they're like the Switzerland of Eastern Europe, where they have these elves and candy cane stuff like that, candy cane lances.
Yeah, they're like Wakanda. They dug up the uranium in 700 years ago, and no one fucked with them since.
The Aldovian nuclear weapons program. Yeah,
Yep.
it's very concerning. It comes up at the United Nations all the time. Like, why won't they let inspectors in? Yeah.
They have missiles size of like giant Christmas trees.
Yeah, they paint the red and white stripes, right?
Yeah, they look like candy canes. This is great.
Yeah, now we're not even. I think that the worst trailer you've sent me so far in this topic is a movie that isn't like when you hear the name, it just makes you angry. It doesn't remind you of Christmas.
No, it made me so happy. It made me so happy.
Does it? Okay, well, we were talking about, of course, Rodeo and Juliet.
Oh my god.
Care to explain?
I mean, the title explains itself. I mean,
Does it? Though? I mean,
no.
it could be on a very different
doesn't,
streaming
no,
site with a
doesn't.
name like that.
So it's a Christmas movie about a girl who has to stay with her grandparents on a farm or ranch, I think, and she becomes friend with a horse, and she wins a tournament so the horse doesn't die or something.
Doesn't get sent to the glue factory.
Yeah. The same plot as Christmas Ranch, by the way, but Christmas Ranch is evangelical, so this one is better.
Chris, wait, have I seen the have you shown me a trailer for Christmas Ranch?
I don't think so, but I mean,
Okay, like what are some of the differences? Because I remember there is an actual like man in Rodeo and Juliet. He's like, is he like the stable boy or something? And he's really good looking.
yeah, I don't think there is a man in the Christmas Ranch, and the protagonist seems to be a bit younger, and the main difference, honestly, is Jesus.
Yes, the true meaning of Christmas.
The camera work is just amazing. Like,
I could imagine. Is Christmas Ranch Pureflix perchance?
no, the Christmas Ranch isn't pure flix. Although it might be. No, I think it might be. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Some in the audience might not be familiar. Pureflix, I guess, is a Christian streaming service, right? It's like Netflix, but
Yeah. It's Netflix, but for like weirdos.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna have to discuss a few things on there later. Yeah, I know Ukraine is testing Talkflix, which would be Yes Flix in English.
Yeah, we have Darkflix, which is funny because no, I think they changed the name. I think they call something else now because if you name something like something Flix, it sounds like a porn site
Yeah, it also just sounds like you're ripping it off.
and also like a porn site.
Yeah, definitely a point. Well, that can get people there. But I want to get back to Rodeo and Juliet. So the thing that struck me most about the trailer, and yeah, this isn't so much like a romance. It's something I think appeals to young girls like horses, and it's more about this girl and the horse. But she's from New York, right? And her mother brings her there. I
Yeah,
read that.
she's from a generic big city, which
Right.
is probably New York. This is your go-to big evil city in American movies.
Yeah, that is a common theme of all these movies is that like the city is bad and you need to go back to the village. It's really fascistic when you think like
It's
if you're
very
familiar.
paternalistic, at least in this like classical paternalistic sense, in
Yeah,
the sense of returning back to nature.
yeah, exactly. Not just back to nature, but back to tradition,
Yeah,
away
yeah,
from
yeah.
the
How things are
cosmopolitan
supposed to be, quote unquote.
city. The degeneracy, all that nonsense. But so she goes there, and the thing that struck me about it is when I first saw the trailer, I'm looking at her and I thought, I'm looking at the protagonist, I'm thinking, oh, she must be like that go-getter journalist or young professional because that's who you typically have in these movies. But then I realized that no, she's actually supposed to be the teenage daughter of the mother who takes her there to the ranch. And when you look at this woman, she is. I actually did the calculation. The actress, I believe her name is Nadine. I got the IMDb here. Nadine Crocker. Okay, I thought is it Nadine Cocker or Crocker? It's Crocker. When this movie was made, she was 27.
Oh wow,
So playing a teenager 27. I mean,
great,
it's a
great.
bit
Do
egregious.
I look like 16 to you because I'm basically 27? Right.
But no, seriously. So yeah, it's kind of been a common joke, even when I was younger as a teenager, that a lot of like teen movies and shows are using actors and actresses who are just way beyond their teens. But 27, it's pretty egregious when she's like, "Mom, I gotta save this horse," and the mother looks not much older than her. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How about you pay for this horse with your own salary, Stacy? You're 27.
yeah, you're 27 and you live in New York. You can afford this horse. Like,
Yeah.
just sell your brownstone in Manhattan or whatever the New Yorkers do, and buy the horse and yeah, the rent. You probably get a small place in the small village. That is a Christmas story, though. It doesn't look like it from the title.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Christmas, but the title is just fantastic. Fun is to
Yeah,
die for.
absolutely. Well, the funny thing is, it just it doesn't make a lot of sense because like it should be like
No,
a person and Juliet, and it's like no,
no.
an event.
In fact, it has like really weird implication because Romeo and Juliet is a romantic story. It's a
About
love
forbidden
story.
love.
It's the love story in our popular culture. So yeah, so this kind of gets weird.
Yeah, yeah. You're wondering like, should this be on a different streaming service, for example?
No, 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 no. We're not getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, most Christmas movies don't go to distance. Were there any other exemplars of this genre, maybe from Hallmark, that we have not covered that you or have some thoughts on?
Well, I wanted to mention quickly the Christmas dragon. It's not a hallmark for formula. It doesn't have like an overworked, you know, girl like fallen fallen on the street and
Falling in
waking
love
up
with a
in the
hunky
Middle
country
Earth.
dragon.
No, it's high fantasy with like elves and shit, and also Santa is there, and Santa has a dragon, and it's basically Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but with dragons. This is
Wait, so does he not have reindeer and his sleigh is pulled by dragons?
Oh no, no, he has them in the beginning, I think, because I haven't
Yes,
rewatched it in
reindeer.
a while as well. I didn't have time to rewatch it this year, so he has the reindeers, but I think something happens to them, and the dragon is here to
The
say good
dragon
day.
ate his reindeer.
Yep, it's a Christmas dragon. It's just as the title says. So it's a great movie. You should check it out. On the downside that it has a bunch of like really bad child actors.
Yeah, one good thing about I guess some of these movies is that they deliver what they promise. Like if it's called The Christmas Prince,
Yeah, you have the Christmas
there's the
Prince.
Prince. Do not fuck around. It's not.
Yeah, no, they are not called like I don't know, like from Moldova with love, or something.
Yeah, yeah. So what final thoughts? I mean, what did we learn from all this, from these Christmas films about the film industry or ourselves as a society, or give me something deep and profound we could
Capitalism breeds innovation. What can I say?
yeah, yeah, you can definitely see that when you look at those collages of all the movie posters together, and everyone, you always got like woman in red sweater, man in green sweater, or is it reversed?
I think that this is a great example of just simple small movies being really popular. So I know we live kind of in the era of this like big blockbuster like superhero Star Wars movies, but this very successful franchises, it shows that sometimes you don't have to have like a lot of budget and good actors and CGI and stuff. Sometimes you just gotta give people what they want, and
You
you
have
will
to
be
get.
fine.
I think it's about finding a loyal niche audience, whether that's
Yes.
people who just want to get drunk and make fun of a bad movie, or those aforementioned super lonely people that I was
Yes.
talking about.
The circle diagram of these two like subcategories is a circle, by the way, but go off.
Yeah, yeah, the overlapping circle of sad, lonely people who love Christmas but have no family to spend it with, which I'm a part. I'm definitely kind of an overlapping circle there with with me because
Yeah, I
just
mean,
me and my
we are
wife
in
here,
the middle of
and that's it.
pandemic. We shouldn't go to our grandparents and parents and like I don't know, expose them.
Oh
My
yeah,
parents
I
are
mean,
already exposed, so I'm fine. But
because we were talking earlier about how last time I was in Ukraine was like late 2018, 2019, and I was already planning a trip that would have been like I would probably be there this time of year. I had a whole thing planned out. I was going to do some volunteer work. I met a connection here, and then this thing comes down, and it's like Ukraine might as well be on Mars now from where I am because I can't even go. I have family up in like the Boston area. I can't even go up there because they're old. They've already had people in their community die because of this pandemic. So I realize this kind of brings everyone down, but I think it's interesting how streaming has become so important in this time now. And we start looking at content that we may have never really noticed before. Even if we don't necessarily like it, we start noticing it. And the same way I started like noticing like these trailers you're sending me, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's some bigger thing going on here. And the fact that, by the way, making films for $2 million each, I believe the budget for The Room, infamously known as one of the worst movies ever made, was about 6 million.
oh
Now,
wow, really?
yeah. Now, to be fair, part of that was for two key reasons. He paid a bunch of money to keep it in theaters for 2 weeks because if
Oh
you want a
no.
film, yeah, yes, because if you want a film to be considered for the Oscars, it has to be in theaters for 2 weeks.
Oh,
The other,
Tommy was shooting big. All right.
yeah, and the other factor was, of course, if you read the book Disaster Artist, you know that Tommy Wiseau spent a lot of money he didn't need to spend. He actually bought equipment that you would typically rent in the business, so that also explains the overruns. But still, $2 million per film. That's very little, but the interesting thing is that it forces them into a narrow set of criteria. For example, snow cannot be the main theme of the script. If you submit a script, if you pitch something that's about, oh, we haven't had snow here in decades, this is a Christmas miracle, can't do that because the snow budget, it costs them too much. And so they'll have some establishing shots of like snow or something like that, but you can't make it be all about the snowman or, making snow forts or something like that. So
Do you remember that 90s movies? That 90s movie about a dad dying and he comes back as a snowman or
yes,
something?
yes, I did not actually see it. I've seen many reviews of it. It's called Jack Frost, and it had Michael Keaton in it,
Oh
and
yeah, I remember Michael Keaton. He's
he,
Batman in it. It's crazy.
he becomes like a horrendous looking snowman. It was
He's
90s
horrible.
CGI. Yeah, just scary. Yeah, maybe that's a big difference. It's like now, we make these on industrial scale, but in the past, you had big studios making big movies, sometimes with big stars, and then they would flop. And I can kind of understand why maybe they're thinking, okay, there's a market for Christmas movies, but we're not going to take these ridiculous risks, thinking we're going to get the next Home Alone or something like that, because a lot of times you don't. And I mean, Jack Frost, yeah, that was horrifying. I mean, like if you're a kid, your dad dies, and a year later he comes back as a scary looking snowman, not just a
Yeah.
normal
Yes.
snowman. I mean, you're already vulnerable because dad died and everything. As we talk about crappy movies in general, I'm thinking about possibly talking about what we could discuss in the future. And you had made me aware of this PureFlix movie. I've heard others review it, but I haven't had the chance to give my take on it. But I do have it, and I can watch it. And that is, of course, Beckman. And
Batman. I love Batman.
how can you explain Beckman to the audience?
This is John Wick meets Jesus. It's
Yes,
amazing.
this is fundamentalist Christian John Wick.
Yes,
It is exactly that. Like,
yeah, it's exactly that. But this is John Wick, but was with like 5% of John Wick's budget,
yes.
so it's extra great.
Yes, what I noticed is you could clearly see the way you know it's John Wick is you can clearly see the attempt to do a lot of that kind of like that close quarter combat and that choreographed gunplay hand to hand stuff that's going on, but it's being done by a guy who just by people who basically have no idea what they're doing on any level, and
Yeah, no.
it's
But
mostly like
having a lot of fun doing that.
I'm not sure these people allow fun in their life, but yeah, it basically looks like, for example, guy tries to shoot guy grabs his wrist, forces his wrist away, tries to shoot him. That guy grabs his wrist, and like it's just, yeah, it's bad. But I've only seen the trailer. You could easily check out the trailer online on YouTube. Beckman, Beckman. It's one N, right? Beckman.
Yeah, it's one man.
Yeah, and I'm going to watch it, so no spoilers. You've kept me from spoilers, but there are some like really ridiculous things going on in this movie, and it does involve some kind of like satanic sex cult, right?
Kinda, yeah, kinda. David R. White, is this his name? David R. White?
Yeah,
Right.
something
So
like that.
yeah, he pulls some punches in this movie, so just be aware going in.
Yeah, just watching the trailer, he looked like he looked kind of drunk, to be honest. Uh, just he looked
He
kind of
looks like he's going through a divorce because he is.
he is, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Ouch. All right. So I guess what more could we say? Is there anything you want to plug that you're doing over there?
Not yet, I think. Maybe ask me in a month or so.
I will. Well, that's an incentive to come back and discuss Beckman, definitely.
Oh, sure. We should, you know what we should also discuss?
Mhm.
We should also discuss like bad fantasy movies because this is also my bailiwick.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea because yeah, I'm sort of a while back. It's kind of funny. It was a completely unrelated show, but Flight of the Conchords is this really hilarious comedy out of New Zealand. It's a bit old, but you find it on HBO Max, and they had Lucy Lawless on there, and I didn't even recognize her at the time. I forgot that she was from New Zealand, and
No, she's a Kiwi. It's great. And
right. Yeah, I was saying, well, it made me like look back at those old shows like Xena Warrior Princess, and there was like really charming about these mid-range budget TV shows. Where I was from, they would be aired usually in a Saturday afternoon when you had like nothing to do, and there was something charming about how corny they were, and they all spawned very dedicated fandoms. And you are a very dedicated Xena fan, yes?
yeah, I'm a Xenite. I'm a dedicated Xenite. I confess. to be in the
A
Xenite.
xenophile, yes.
Xenophile, yes.
So what were some of the schlockier fantasies that you could recommend?
I mean, depends on the time period.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if we're talking the 80s fantasy or the 90s fantasy, it's like just the whole other scenes. But then, like, if we're going in 2000s, I think, well, if you want to watch something fantasy in Christmas, you can watch The Christmas Dragon. Or, another great series from the same studio is Mythica. The first movie is a bit bad, but the rest four of them, I think there are 5 movies in the series. They're quite good.
What's the name of that series again?
Mythica.
Mythica.
Mythica. Yes.
Where's that made?
Fuck if I know it's called that.
No, where's it? Is it like American or?
It's like a main character's name, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, I just wonder where the. I was wondering where it was made because I just hadn't heard of it. But yeah, so I think we have not only given everybody a happy Christmas and helped make people aware of what excellent cinema or kino is out there, and hopefully because Christmas for people celebrate on the 25th is coming up this week, so now they'll be able to gather around with whoever they have left and watch these wonderful movies that teach you about the true meaning of Christmas. And if you are an overstressed middle manager, businesswoman or something, you can go to a small town and maybe meet a hunky baker or something. Maybe these films are aspirational and you can actually go out and do this. Do not, however, infiltrate any government facility under the cover of a journalist in an Eastern European country.
Do not steal royal heirlooms. It's not gonna end well. I'm probably.
Yeah, this is probably a good time for a public service announcement about artifact trafficking, which is a big deal and is a billion-dollar industry. A lot of countries lose their national treasures due to black market souvenirs and that kind of trafficking. So if you know anything about that, contact Interpol. Don't steal any hand-carved acorns from mysterious Eastern European countries where everyone speaks English with a British accent. I guess we could wrap it up there. So I guess I'll say thank you very much for coming on. It's been great reminiscing over this stuff. And I guess I'd say Duja Jaku.
You're welcome. Good luck.
I do need to practice more. I think people.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, I think that my best attribute is that I understand better and I speak, which means that in Ukrainian I have to like sit and listen instead of talking because I do that too much in English. But definitely you have made this first episode hopefully a hit. And I guess we could wish everybody Merry Christmas and happy all those holidays and everything. And we could also remember the veterans of the war on Christmas, the long-running war on Christmas, America's longest war.
Oh no. Well, at least this pandemic ceasefire was welcome, so at least we have that.
Yeah, the anti-Christmas and pro-Christmas sides came together. Well, they couldn't come together because of the pandemic, but finally they had a ceasefire hold. So we'll see how long that lasts then. Otherwise, next season it's on. It's a war on Christmas. Well, folks, that's it for the first episode. Again, I do apologize for that little audio technical problem. Luckily, I figured out what caused it, so you won't hear that next episode. Now comes the standard part where I ask you to click like and subscribe to support the channel. Also, you can support my work by becoming a patron. The link to my Patreon page is in the description for this video. I've also left some links to trailers for some of the movies that we've talked about in this episode in case you want to actually get in on this Christmas joy yourself. In case you're wondering, the opening song here is Shedrik. That is the very old Ukrainian folk chant which became the basis for the Carol of the Bells. In the meantime, keep your eyes peeled for the long-awaited sequel to Cyrillic Abuse. Check the channel videos if you haven't seen that one yet. It's one of the more popular videos on this channel. And I guess there's nothing left to do but wish you a Merry Christmas and, of course, Happy New Year as well.